what if the man hailed as India's saviour? Is it secretly its most dangerous puppet master? Imagine a leader who rose from humble tea stalls to the pinnacle of power in 2014, Narendra Modi, now stands accused of weaving a sinister tapestry of corruption, violence, and global deception. This isn't just a story of political ambition. It's a chilling descent into a shadow empire, one where Hindu nationalist mafias, state-sanctioned bloodshed, and international conspiracies collide. Welcome to Narendra Modi, the Shadow Syndicate, presented by State Radio, Unsolved Crime Show, revealing a tyrant lurking beneath. Since seizing India's premiership, Modi has sold the world a vision of progress and unity. But behind the polished speeches and saffron banners lies a darker truth. A nexus so ruthless it's turned India's streets into battlegrounds and its democracy into a hollow shell. Imagine this: hate crimes against Muslims skyrocketing by 90% under his watch. Orchestrated pogroms leaving families shattered, their screams drowned out by a complicit silence. Picture covert hit squads dispatched across borders. Sikh activists gunned down in Canada, plots foiled on American soil, defying laws and sparking diplomatic firestorms. And at home, journalists vanish into the night, internet lines go dead, and homes are reduced to rubble, all under the guise of justice. This is no mere governance, it's a calculated reign of terror. Critics whisper that Modi has hijacked Hinduism itself, twisting its ancient pluralism into a blade of division, while his propaganda machine, Gaudiya Media, spins lies to shield his throne. But the evidence? It's staggering. Whistleblowers risk their lives to spill secrets. Declassified files peel back the curtain, and the trail leads straight to New Delhi's corridors of power. This is a man accused of betraying not just his nation, but the very faith he claims to champion, and the world he's entangled in his web. From Gujarat's blood-stained streets to the global stage, Modi's rule is a labyrinth of hidden crimes: extraterrestrial, assassinations, corporate mafias, and a chokehold on dissent that threatens to strangle democracy itself. This isn't just India's story. It's a warning to humanity. Buckle up, because what you're about to uncover will shake you to your core. But how did one man orchestrate such a sprawling syndicate? And what are the most hidden alleged crimes that could redefine his legacy? That's where we dive next. In the dusty, sun-scorched town of Vadnagar, a boy with piercing eyes and a relentless spirit was born into a world of grit and scarcity. Narendra Modi, son of a tea seller, raised in the shadow of modest dreams, grew up amid the hum of a nation on the cusp of change. India in the mid-20th century was a land of contrasts. Vibrant bazaars clashing with colonial scars. A young democracy wrestling with its identity. For young Narendra, life was a crucible. Every chai poured, every rupee earned, a step towards something greater. His world was small, but his ambition boundless. Modi's early years weren't just about survival. They were a forge for ideology. Drawn to the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the RSS, a Hindu nationalist paramilitary group, he found a calling that fused discipline with devotion. Imagine that, a young man marching in lockstep, sweat beading on his brow, absorbing tales of a unified Hindu India, a vision rooted in pride but shadowed by exclusion. His dream crystallized, to rise, to lead, to reshape a fractured nation into a singular, unbreakable force. This wasn't just personal ambition, it was a mission etched into his soul, a fire stoked by decades of quiet resolve. By the 1980s, Modi had climbed the RSS ranks, his sharp mind and unyielding will catching the eye of the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the BJP, a political offspring of the RSS. Gujarat became his proving ground. As a party organizer, he honed his craft, rallying crowds, weaving narratives, building loyalty. But beneath the surface, whispers of a darker edge emerged, rumors of influence peddling, of strong-arm tactics to silence rivals. This was no ordinary ascent. It was a calculated march toward power, each step deliberate, each alliance a chess move in a grander game. Then came the turning point, a moment that would thrust Modi from the shadows into the crucible of history. In 2001, Gujarat's chief minister resigned, and the BJP turned to their rising star. Narendra Modi took the helm of his home state, a land of 60 million souls, with a promise to transform it into a beacon of progress. But fate or design had other plans. Barely a year into his tenure, the earth trembled with a catastrophe that would redefine his legacy and ignite a firestorm of blood and betrayal. February 27th, 2002, the Godhra train burning. A carriage carrying Hindu pilgrims erupted in flames, killing 59 people. Officially an accident, but rumors of a Muslim mob attack spread like wildfire. What followed was no mere reaction. It was a descent into chaos. Gujarat exploded into riots, a pogrom that saw over 1,000 lives lost, mostly Muslims, in a wave of orchestrated violence. Homes torched, families butchered, streets stained red. Modi, the new chief minister, stood at the center, accused by critics of not just failing to stop the carnage, but of letting it burn, a signal of what was to come. This wasn't just a tragedy. It was the foundation of Modi's mythos. To his supporters, he was the iron-willed protector of Hindu pride, a leader who faced chaos and emerged stronger. To his detractors, he was complicit, a man whose silence, or worse, tacit approval, unleashed a nightmare. The courts cleared him of direct involvement, but the stain lingered. And in that crucible of fire, Modi's true ambition took shape, to wield power not just over Gujarat, but over all of India and beyond. The riots were his baptism, a brutal proving ground for a vision that would soon grip a nation. Fast forward to 2014. Narendra Modi stormed onto the national stage, clinching India's premiership with a landslide victory. His promise? A new India, prosperous, united, unstoppable. But beneath the sheen of development lay the seeds of something darker, a syndicate of control, corruption, and conquest. The boy from Vadnagar had become a colossus, his dreams of transformation now a double-edged sword. Gujarat's ghosts followed him to New Delhi, whispering of a leader who'd learned to bend power to his will, no matter the cost. This was no rags to riches tale. It was the rise of a shadow architect. From the streets of Gujarat to the corridors of power, Modi built an empire on loyalty, fear, and a twisted vision of unity. Hate crimes surged, dissenters vanished, and a nation began to fracture under his grip. The world saw a statesman, insiders saw a puppeteer. And the evidence? It's buried deep. Whistleblowers hunted, files locked away. A media machine churning out praise to drown the screams. By 2014, Modi's foundation was set, a bedrock of ambition, hardened by Gujarat's blood and polished by a decade of calculated moves. But this was only the beginning. His reign would soon unveil a litany of hidden crimes, a web so vast it stretched beyond India's borders, threatening the very soul of democracy. The boy who once poured tea now poured fuel on a fire that could consume the world. So how did this man, forged in struggle and baptized in chaos, construct a syndicate that could shake the globe? The answers lie in the top 10 alleged crimes that define his rule. Secrets so explosive they could topple his throne. That's where we head next. Power isn't won, it's seized. And for Narendra Modi, crowned India's Prime Minister in 2014, the path to dominance was a gauntlet of fire, betrayal, and unrelenting ambition. This wasn't a gentle rise. It was a war against enemies seen and unseen, a sprawling syndicate forged in the crucible of resistance. Welcome to the heart of Narendra Modi, the Shadow Syndicate, where the stakes soar higher, the shadows deepen, and a leader's dream of a unified India collides with a chilling reality of division, suppression, and global defiance. Modi's reign began with a promise, a glittering vision of progress, prosperity, and pride. But beneath the rhetoric lurked his greatest challenge, a nation fractured by faith, politics, and history, teeming with voices that refused to bend. Muslims, Sikhs, journalists, activists, an army of dissenters stood in his way, their defiance a direct threat to his ironclad mission. And beyond India's borders, nations like the US and Canada, guardians of democracy, eyed his moves with growing unease. This wasn't just a domestic struggle. It was a battle to silence a world awakening to his shadow. The ghosts of Gujarat were his first hurdle, a stain that wouldn't fade. Critics screamed complicity in the 2002 pogrom. Over 1,000 dead, mostly Muslims, in a massacre that branded him a pariah on the global stage. The US banned him for nearly a decade, a diplomatic slap that fueled his resolve. But Modi didn't flinch. He turned the narrative, cast himself as a victim of bias, a warrior for Hindu honor. His supporters rallied, his enemies sharpened their knives. The struggle had only begun. Enter the syndicate, a web of loyalists, enforcers, and unseen hands that became Modi's weapon against resistance. Imagine that. Hindu nationalist mafias, emboldened by his ascent, prowling the streets, their saffron flags a banner of fear. Ministers like Amit Shah, his ruthless right hand, and Giriraj Singh, a firebrand of division, stoking communal flames to keep voters in line. And the tycoons, Gautam Adani, Mukesh Ambani, corporate titans allegedly rigging the game, their wealth a cudgel to crush dissent. These weren't just allies, they were the architects of his empire, each a pillar in a machine built to dominate. first test came swift and brutal. Hate crimes exploded, up 90% since 2014, pogroms orchestrated with chilling precision. Muslims bore the brunt, their homes razed under legal pretexts, their lives a bargaining chip in Modi's electoral chessboard. Manipur 2023. Riots erupted, villages burned, and police stood idle, allegedly on orders from above. Critics howled. Modi stayed silent. The message was clear: oppose him and pay the price. This wasn't chaos, it was control, a calculated terror to cement his grip. But the dissenters fought back. Journalists like Rana Ayub exposed his regime's underbelly, their pens dripping with defiance, until they vanished, silenced by arrests or worse. Sikh activists like Gurpatwant Singh, Panan in the US, rallied diaspora fury, their voices a thorn in Modi's side. Enter RAW, India's shadowy spy arm, allegedly unleashed to hunt them down. 2023. Hardeep Singh Nijjar gunned down in Canada, a foiled hit on Panun in America. The world recoiled, US law defied, Canada's trust shattered. But Modi's denials rang hollow, his diplomatic mask slipping. The syndicate's reach grew darker. Pegasus spyware, deployed in secret, snooped on phones, snaring journalists, activists, minorities. Under laws like UAPA, arrests turned to torture, unreported screams echoing in hidden cells. Tax raids crippled opposition, NGOs bankrupted, critics like the BBC raided in 2023. Their voices choked. And the media, gaudy media, they called it, Modi's lapdogs, spinning propaganda to bury the truth. The press wasn't just compliant, it was complicit. A shield for his sins, the world began to notice. Canada's Trudeau accused India of murder on his soil. The US probed RAW's plots. Modi countered with leverage, threatening trade cuts, whispering covert threats via back channels. Diplomacy became blackmail, his economic clout a gag on foreign outrage. But the cracks widened. Whistleblowers leaked files, declassified reports of assassination orders, corporate kickbacks, hate campaigns, all pointing to Modi's inner circle. The syndicate wasn't just Indian anymore. It was a global beast, its tentacles coiling around free nations. At home, the chokehold tightened. Internet blackouts, Kashmir 2019, left millions blind. A digital cage to stifle revolt. Bulldozers rolled on, displacing minorities, their cries erased from records by loyal officials. And the money flowed. Adani and Ambani's empires swelled, tenders rigged, dissent crushed with laundered cash. This was a mafia in all but name, a corporate state nexus that turned India's markets into Modi's playground. Smaller businesses buckled, protesters vanished. Coercion masked as progress. The mid-game was merciless. 2023, Atiq Ahmed, a political rival, shot dead in a staged encounter, one of countless unreported killings, insiders claimed, ordered from above. Manipur burned again. Hate speeches from Shah and Singh fanning the flames. Police complicity, a grim echo of Gujarat. The CAA anti-Muslim laws sparked protests met with batons and bullets. Modi's vision of unity morphed into a weapon of fracture. Hinduism twisted into a cudgel against its own pluralism. Critics raged. He'd betrayed his faith, his people, his promise. The enemies multiplied. Activists abroad, minorities at home, a press clinging to scraps of freedom. But Modi's syndicate adapted. disinfo lab, a covert propaganda mill smeared critics worldwide, US scholars branded traitors, cyber attacks hushing diaspora dissent. The funding, murky, the scope, vast, the truth, buried, and the tycoons, their empires flexed, Adani's ports, Ambani's telecom, strong-arming rivals into submission, their profits a war chest for BJP dominance. This wasn't governance, it was conquest. The world teetered. Modi's model, nationalism, repression, corporate might, drew eyes from illiberal regimes, a blueprint for strongmen itching to copy. Meetings with far-right figures, unreported, hushed, hinted at a grander scheme. Export this chaos, wield the diaspora, unravel democracy's threads. India wasn't just a battleground, it was a proving ground for a future threat, a shadow stretching far beyond its shores. And the media? Silent, complicit, blind. The struggle peaked, evidence mounted, testimonies of tortured journalists, files tying Modi to raw hits, financial trails to Adani's coffers. Yet he stood taller, his image polished by propaganda, his enemies crushed or cowed. The syndicate wasn't flawless. Leaks bled through, but it was relentless. Every challenge met with force, every crack sealed with fear. This was Modi's path, a war of attrition against truth, freedom, and the world daring to defy him. By 2020, the toll was staggering. Minorities lived in dread, dissenters in exile or graves, democracy a flickering flame. The syndicate had won, not cleanly, but decisively. Gujarat's boy had become a colossus, his dream a nightmare for millions. But the story wasn't over. The world watched, some in fear, some in awe, as Modi's shadow loomed larger, a menace poised to reshape the global order. This was the struggle, the forging of a titan through blood, betrayal, and unbreakable will. But what are the 10 hidden crimes that fuel this empire, and how do they threaten us all? That's where the veil lifts next. The stage is set. The shadows have thickened. After a decade of ruthless ascent, Narendra Modi stands at the pinnacle of his power. But the empire he's built teeters on the edge of collapse. This is Narendra Modi, the shadow syndicate reaching its shattering climax. A moment where ambition collides with reckoning, where the veil of invincibility frays and the world peers into the abyss of his alleged crimes. Buckle up, because what unfolds next isn't just a revelation. It's a thunderclap that could echo across the globe. By 2025, Modi's grip on India is ironclad, or so it seems. His syndicate, Hindu nationalist mafias, corporate titans, and a propaganda machine humming in unison, has crushed dissent, silenced screams, and bent a nation to his will. Hate crimes have surged 90%, minorities cower, and dissenters vanish into the night. Abroad, his shadow stretches. Raw's alleged hits on Sikh activists like Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada and foiled plots in the US have sparked outrage. Yet he stands defiant, a colossus unshaken. But beneath this facade of triumph lies a ticking bomb, a cascade of secrets poised to erupt. The climax ignites with a single spark. Evidence, long buried, claws its way to the surface. Whistleblowers, hunted and haunted, break their silence. Declassified files stamped with Raw's seal leak like venom, detailing assassination orders signed off by Modi's inner circle. Imagine that. Grainy footage of a shadowy figure slipping a dossier to a journalist, the words "Penun, terminate" scrawled in red ink. Canada erupts, the US fumes, and the world's gaze sharpens. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. Unmasked, a leader caught with blood on his hands. But the storm doesn't stop there. India trembles as the syndicate's pillars crack. Gautam Adani's empire, built on rigged tenders and laundered cash, faces a bombshell exposé. Financial trails linking his billions to BJP's war chest, with unreported beatings of protesters tied to his enforcers. Mukesh Ambani's telecom monopoly unravels too. Whistleblowers reveal coercion of rivals, their businesses torched or bankrupted. The corporate mafia, Modi's backbone, staggers under the weight of truth, their loyalty now a liability. At home, the reckoning accelerates. Manipur 2023, riots once dismissed as chaos are exposed as orchestrated. Leaked directives from Amit Shah and Giriraj Singh surface, ordering police to stand down as villages burn. A voter-polarizing inferno blessed by Modi's silence. The CAA's fallout reignites. Demolition campaigns and mass displacements of Muslims, erased from records, flood social media in raw, unfiltered footage. Journalists once muzzled roar back. Pegasus spyware victims name their tormentors. Torture scars bared on live streams. The Godi media falters, its lies drowned by a tidal wave of fury. The world strikes back. Canada sanctions India. The US indicts raw operatives, and diplomatic ties fray to breaking. Modi's blackmail, trade threats and covert warnings crumbles. As nations unite, their patience snapped by Nijar's blood and Panan's near death. A UN probe looms, declassified reports piling like kindling. And the twist: Modi's own allies waver. Ministers leak to save themselves. Tycoons distance their empires, sensing the tide turning. The syndicate, once unbreakable, splinters under the glare of a global spotlight. This is the peak. The moment Modi's dream of a unified India shatters against the reality of his reign. Success? He's forged a nationalist juggernaut, a model envied by autocrats worldwide. Failure? That same model now chokes democracy, alienates his people, and paints him a global pariah. The lesson? Power built on blood and deceit is a house of cards. One gust and it falls. And that gust is here, leaks, protests, international fury. A tempest he can't outrun. The evidence is undeniable. Raw's extraterritorial killings, dozens unreported, insiders claim, stain Modi's legacy beyond repair. The corporate mafia's chokehold, Adani and Ambani's unreported violence, turns India's markets into a cautionary tale. State-sponsored encounters like Atiq Ahmed's 2023 murder multiply in leaked logs. A systematic purge Modi's media can't spin. Disinformation networks, Disinfo Labs' cyber attacks unravel, their funding traced to New Delhi, and the hate campaigns, Shah's orders, Singh's venom, tied to Modi's electoral playbook, a blueprint for division. The climax roars louder. Digital repression, Pegasus logs, UAPA torture spills into the open. Victims' names a roll call of the silenced. Economic, warfare, tax raids, NGO freezes, links to Modi's personal directives, a mafia grip unmasked. Religious persecution, demolitions, displacements, floods the airwaves, the human toll too vast to hide. Diplomatic blackmail, threats to Canada, hushed deals, cracks Modi's statesman mask. And the final blow? His global threat, alliances with far-right figures, diaspora control, positions him as authoritarianism's architect, a domino poised to topple democracies. The titan stumbles. Protests swell. India's streets a sea of rage, chanting, "Down with Modi," as police falter. Abroad, sanctions bite, allies retreat, and the UN's gavel looms. The syndicate's threads snap. One by one, loyalists turn, evidence mounts, and the propaganda machine sputters. This isn't defeat, not yet, but it's the edge of the abyss. Modi's empire, built on a decade of struggle, faces its mortal test. Will he double down, or will the weight of his crimes crush him? The world holds its breath. Critics cheer, a tyrant exposed, supporters rally, a leader besieged. The lesson cuts deep. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And Modi's corruption, alleged, documented, undeniable, threatens not just India, but humanity. His success is his trap. Nationalism unleashed, now a beast he can't control. His failure is his mirror, a faith betrayed, a nation fractured, a globe on edge. This is the climax. A man, a myth, a menace, teetering on the brink. The storm breaks. India reels. Protests, leaks, a fractured syndicate, while the world braces for fallout. The 10 hidden crimes, assassinations, Mafia empires, violence, disinformation, hate, repression, economic war, persecution, blackmail, global menace stand bare, a ledger of a decade's darkness. Modi's throne shakes. His legacy, a duel between savior and sinner. This isn't the end, it's the precipice, a moment where triumph and ruin collide in a blaze of truth. This is Narendra Modi's climax. A titan forged, a syndicate exposed, a world awakened. But what does it mean for India, for democracy, for us all? That's where the final reckoning begins next. The dust settles. The thunder fades. After a decade of unrelenting ambition, betrayal and bloodshed, Narendra Modi. The shadow syndicate draws to its haunting close. Narendra Modi, once a tea seller's son, now a titan teetering on the edge, stands at the crossroads of history, his empire of power and corruption laid bare. This isn't just the end of a story, it's a reckoning. A mirror held up to a leader, a nation and a world on the brink. What remains is a question. Will the shadow consume us all, or will we rise to meet it? By March the 19th, 2025, Modi's reign is a paradox of triumph and fracture. India stands transformed. Roads gleam, markets boom. A nationalist fervour pulses through its veins. Yet the cost is staggering. Hate crimes scar the land, up 90% since 2014. Minorities huddle in fear, their homes rubble under bulldozers. Abroad, the syndicate's reach, roars alleged assassinations, diplomatic blackmail, has turned allies into adversaries. Canada and the US bristling with sanctions and probes. The climax has passed, but the fallout lingers. A nation and its leader caught in a storm of their own making. The outcome is no fairy tale. Modi's syndicate Hindu nationalist mafias, corporate giants like Adani and Ambani, a complicit Godi media hasn't crumbled, but it's cracked. Whistleblowers' leaks, Raw's hit lists, financial trails, hate campaign orders have pierced the armour, sparking protests that flood India's streets. The world watches, a UN gavel poised as evidence of his 10 hidden crimes piles high. Assassinations, mafia empires, state violence, disinformation, hate, digital repression, economic war, persecution, blackmail, and a blueprint for global tyranny. He's not fallen, not yet, but the throne wobbles, its foundation eroded by truth. What's the lesson here? For Modi, it's a brutal irony. The dream of a unified India, forged in his youth, has birthed a fractured reality. Hinduism weaponized, democracy bruised, a nation divided by the very man who swore to heal it. His ascent from Vadnagar's dust to New Delhi's pinnacle is a testament to will, but his legacy? A cautionary tale of power unchecked, of ambition that devours its own soul. For India, it's a wake-up call, a democracy teetering, its pluralism at stake. And for the world, a warning. Modi's model, nationalism fused with repression, could ignite a chain reaction, toppling freedoms far beyond his borders. The story ends unresolved, a cliffhanger of consequence. Modi doubles down, rallies swell, propaganda churns, yet the cracks widen. Protests grow. Voices like Rana Ayub's pierce the silence, and global pressure mounts. The syndicate's pillars, Shah, Adani, the media machine, falter, loyalty tested by the weight of exposure. India stands at a fork, reclaim its soul or sink deeper into the shadow. The world too faces a choice, ignore the menace or confront it. This isn't closure. It's a beginning, a battle line drawn in the sand. The message cuts deep. Power built on betrayal breeds chaos. Modi's journey, from Gujarat's riots to a global stage, teaches us that unity forced through division is a lie, that faith, twisted into a weapon, wounds its wielder most. His alleged crimes, documented, damning, aren't just India's burden. They're a global alarm, a flare signaling the rise of a new authoritarian age. If he's the architect of a future threat, as critics claim, then the stakes aren't local. They're universal, a fight for the soul of democracy itself. This is the final frame, a world awakened but not yet saved. Modi's shadow looms, his influence a spectre over India and beyond. The boy who dreamed of strength has built a colossus, but at what cost? A nation betrayed, a faith distorted, a planet on edge. The evidence, whistleblowers, leaks, the cries of the silenced, demands we look closer, not away. This isn't just his story, it's ours, a mirror reflecting what we allow, what we ignore, what we become. Here's your call to action. Don't let this end here. Hit that like button if this shook you. Subscribe if you're ready to uncover more. Drop a comment. Tell us, is Modi a visionary or a villain? Share this with someone who needs to see it, because the truth doesn't spread itself. The shadow syndicate thrives in silence. Break it. Dig deeper. Question louder. Demand answers. This isn't just a video, it's a spark. What you do next could change the game, not just for India, but for us all. The screen lingers. The sunset's glow is gone, replaced by a starlit sky over Gujarat's scars, hopeful yet heavy. Modi's fate hangs in the balance, his empire a titan with feet of clay. India's future, democracy's survival, the world's stability, they rest on what comes next. This is the end of one chapter, but the story, it's far from over. You've seen the shadow. Now decide what to do with the light. So, where do we go from here? The answers aren't in the past. They're in your hands. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let's keep this fire burning. Because if Modi's shadow teaches us anything, it's this. The fight for truth never ends. It begins with us.